Hey, so I wanted to talk about something that kind of fascinated me when I found it out. And I don't think anyone's really talking about this because this is a little more niche, right? Um, if you go into the history tab of your Overwatch profile and you watch the replay, the game lets you go wherever you want. As you can see here, anywhere. This doesn't work with regular spectate. Because I tried. I tried to just spectate a game, and there was walls. Invisible walls between each point. But if you watch the replay, it's completely unrestricted. You can go wherever you want. So as you can see, you find something out that's very interesting, which is how the King of the Hill maps are designed. It's not like just individual levels, it's a whole world that they've created. As you can see, this is Busan. It's an island. It's a whole island that they've created with each of the individual parts. And, we just saw the mecha base. It's actually out there. It almost makes me think, like, what would Titan have looked like? Because, as of right now, this is a 5v5 competitive hero shooter, and they're they're creating a world within here. What would Titan have looked like? And even more relevant, what will the PvE look like? Will there be more open zones that we can explore? You can see right here, this is the spectate. I'm trying to go out and explore the background scenery, and I can't. There's an invisible wall. And so, with this in mind, I can't even, I wouldn't be able to see the other parts of the map either. What I was talking about creating worlds, this mostly applies to King of the Hill. For payload, it's not as impressive. Same thing with push.
Now arriving at Lijiang ready.
It's not as impressive, although there are still cool maps like Junkertown that you can see like a world being constructed. But look at this. It's the top of the tower. That's that point. It's the top of the tower. Or not the top, I'm sorry. Like, it's in the tower. And then right under it is that other point. It's fascinating to just like explore. And areas that, while in game, look very large and are kill zones, are really small when you zoom out. Like this is a kill zone right here. This, if you fall into it, a little more up, you die. But I'm just flying around looking at it, and it's pretty empty, as it should be. And check this out, there's fish in here. Did you guys know that? This is like water, holographic water. It's cool, it's different. And you can go around here, you can see the the nothing. It's a pretty interesting idea. Oh, hold on. And then this is the other zone right here. I didn't even notice it at first. On the ground floor, that's the other zone. So you can see it's tiered. Nepal is exactly like this too. I don't know if in this video I show off Nepal. Nepal is even better, in my opinion, because it's literally a mountain that you're scaling. But this amount of freedom, I feel, makes it interesting. Oh, you see like the background, it's all animated. Oasis has really interesting animated backgrounds, which I think is in this clip. But seeing all this, it makes it like you really get into the mindset of creating a map like this, like what's visible versus what's not visible, what's like a cohesive land mass versus an uncohesive. Like, for example, this background area I would call uncohesive, right? Like, this is not a space that you could walk through. You're seeing like the skybox, it's like chopped up. Like, this isn't a walkable space, like it wouldn't make sense.
4, 3,
but it is very detailed. Like someone someone put these buildings here. You know, you can literally see, like, okay, there's some repeat buildings, yeah, but it's like it's not like there's these sequences. It doesn't look like it anyways. It doesn't look like there's sequences to the buildings. It seems almost like deliberate, like people are, or someone maybe, it put these individual buildings. It's kind of interesting, the thought process.
Ready for battle.
Alright, we're on Ilios now. This is like a different kind of video I'm doing, by the way. It's like, I usually do highly edited, scripted videos, but this time I'm kind of just letting gameplay run in the background and I just speak. You know, this is the same kind of concept right here, like cohesive versus non-cohesive. You can literally see like the chopped up buildings like floating. I don't know if you guys saw that. But when you go into where the player would be walking, it makes sense. And look, see, this is the same idea. It's an island, right? It's an island, but a huge chunk of it just wasn't created because, well, if you're in game, you would never see that space. Oh yeah, right here I'm kind of like glitching out the view model a little bit, because view model FOV is something I find an interesting topic, so I was just messing around with that. Let's skip ahead. Alright, so skipped ahead a little bit. You know, just flying around. Maybe I show off like this. Oh, here we go. This is the other point. You know, as you can see, this is a full island. Now maybe this island wouldn't be a livable space because each of the spots are extremely disconnected, but you know, it gives you that illusion, right? It's the illusion of like a livable space, which I find really interesting. That it's like from a technical standpoint, it actually makes sense when you think about it. You have all three zones loaded, so there's not a lot of load time between the zones. It makes sense. But to actually see it in this way, it changes the perspective, because it's not just functional, it's also artistic. They're deliberately creating a world here. So it serves two purposes, and I just find it very interesting. And now, the purpose of me going to this statue is to show off how open like the view replay really is. This is the statue on Ilios, all the way out in the distance. This is it. When you look at the replays from history, it does not restrict you at all. It doesn't restrict you at all. When you spectate, it does, but when you do it like this, it doesn't. And I love that they do that. Like, I don't ever want them to patch that out. That would definitely be nerfing fun, because it's so cool to look around at these environments, to really like take in the world that they're building, but also just kind of get into the thought process of game design. Because look at this, you saw, oh, this is the new PvE area, by the way, that I'm looking through. Like, this is before it was the new area. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. In Modern Kings Row, there's a whole area there that's being unused. We think it's for PvE, but this is the winter map, so they actually didn't update that yet. So it's basically old Kings Row. And down here, you know, you can kind of see. I always thought this was like an underground city, but it looks more just like furnaces, or like a data center or something. But I always perceived it as like a city, which again is the power of viewing the maps in this way. It's like you can really appreciate the details, because there's so many artistic details. Blizzard has incredible art. But look, you see like in the backgrounds, these shits are floating, right? In game, you would never know that, because your perception is different. They're thinking like, what can the player actually see that makes this cohesive? And I think Rialto puts it best, but
Welcome
Oasis
to
is
Oasis.
fascinating. For King of the Hill, like,
Ready for battle.
this is just awesome what they've done here. Because this is a huge fucking zone. It's massive. Now, obviously, it's low poly. Maybe they did a lot of compression. But there's a lot of moving parts down here. You know, look at the boats are moving. There are robots flying, and the train is moving. Oh, and there's also the cars, which have collision. What I find most fascinating is how they were able to get all this background shit like moving,
5,
and
4,
and
2.
the game runs absolutely
Round
perfect.
1. Capture the objective.
Now, I don't know if all this shit is actually running in a live match, because this is replay, so I don't know if technically there's something going on that makes it all move. Because, you know, open world games do that. They will, like, de-render or almost, like, despawn items if you're not actually looking at them. It's to make the game run smoother. But, you know, just viewing it, it's fascinating on Oasis, and it's like, it really drives home that point of the control maps where they're building a world.
Now arriving.
The map is called Oasis, and it is an oasis, and you can clearly see that in the world
Ready
design.
for battle.
Now, yeah, this is payload, so it's similar to King's Row. It's not as fascinating to me, but it is still cool. There is still details. Like, actually, I remember this clip. If you go out to the mountains, which I know I do, there's just shit there that I never noticed. I never noticed this in game, because why would I look this way in game? But they put in the time to just put this shit here. I mean, that's kind of cool. I don't know. There's clearly, like, a lot of passion here with Overwatch. You know, this is a new map too. You can clearly feel it. It just kind of sucks that it is Activision Blizzard that is managing the game,
Attackers incoming.
which is kind of, you know, the topic of the corporatization of gaming, which I actually made a video about. The real reason why Cyberpunk 2077 like failed, or I forget the name of the video exactly. But that video is about the corporatization of gaming, and actually, funny enough, that is a video where I pretty much rip Blizzard the entire time, or I should say Activision Blizzard, because Blizzard and Activision Blizzard are low-key two separate things, and I mean, Blizzard is also not exactly blank. It's like people look at Overwatch and they're like, Blizzard. No, it's the Overwatch team, or like maybe Team 2, I think it's called. It's not just Blizzard. But that's me being a little technical and anal about it. Oh, let me switch to clips. So here we got Eichenwald. Again, a lot of details. That's the medallion from the cinematic. The Dark Souls reference. You know, I really like this map. I think there's a lot of cool environmental storytelling. And even cool storytelling with the dialogue. Because, like, Reinhardt, usually, if you have a Reinhardt on your team, he'll mention that there was a great and terrible battle fought here. If there's a Bastion or, like, an Ana or whatever, they'll usually reference it as well. This is my favorite map in the game, by far. It's also really well designed, like, competitively. But, as you just saw, like, the road leading into the rocks, see that road, it's like, it's cohesive, you know, it makes sense. And if you look out from the player's point of view, it makes perfect sense, but then you go behind the scenes and like it leads to nowhere, which obviously in game design that makes sense. But it's just kind of cool to see, you know, because the road, it's not even like it really leads to nowhere. Like if they put time into it, that would probably lead towards this city, which is actually 2D. not 3D. They did whoever did that did a really good job on the illusion. I always thought it was 3D or like a really low poly, low rendered 3D, but no, it's just completely flat. It's 2D. It's interesting. But then look at the map from this point of view. Look at it. It's like, okay, there's a giant black square, sure, but like it's kind of fascinating to see. Like a really great big structure. And you see the giant omnic, I don't know what they're called. I don't know if they have a name. But those giant omnic robots that are destroyed in the background. It's like, this is a ghost town. You know? There really was an awful battle fought there, and eventually, you know, maybe the humans won. I guess we'll see in the PvE. We don't actually know the outcome. We don't know if the Omnics won and they took over, or if the Crusaders won and pushed them back. But then clearly everyone left, though, because, you know, it's a ghost town at this point. But now this map is Rialto, and this actually does have the little PvE area, so we can check that out. Which it's obviously PvE. Like, it's appropriate to call it PvE because there are very obvious spawn points. But this is the illusion. Look at this bridge. The bridge leads nowhere. It's a fake bridge. It's not real. But you wouldn't really know that if you weren't paying 100% pretend. Because, like, look. Just looking at it from that, okay, yeah, you pay attention to the details. Like, you can kind of see it leads to nowhere, right? But just kind of glancing at it, you wouldn't know. You'd think, oh, it probably leads somewhere. And here's another one. This building is floating. Oh, yeah, I don't know if I go back. Yeah, the building is floating. You can't even notice it. You can't even notice it. And the fake bridge is over here as well. Fake bridge, leads nowhere. But it's cool, this illusion. And now here's another fun fact about environmental storytelling. Did you know that this map is actually a Talon base? I think I reveal that later. But yeah, this is the PvE area. Obviously PvE for those, like, quote-unquote highly replayable missions, which is probably just like archives, you know, Left 4 Dead stuff. Look at this empty ass room. Obviously a spawn room. You know, obviously a spawn room. This maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But this is clearly PvE space. Like, this is not something I would see player versus player going down on. It's a little too open. You know, way too open to be player versus player. Because player versus player has lots of cover. Cover is a very big part of Overwatch PvP. So let's see. I think I fly over to the Talon thing at the end of this. I didn't really review these beforehand. I'm kind of just talking into the mic. Oh yeah, here we go. Boom! Talon base. Which kind of makes the map a little more interesting to me. So anyways, Jesus Christ, 18 minutes? I've just been rambling. I hope this is interesting in some way. Like, this isn't structured at all. It's not something I'm really used to, but I do think it's interesting stuff to think about. Alright, goodbye.